in the first meeting that we had, the first meeting which lasted one day, we had inadvertently had the public chat function on in the Blue Jeans events. That's not our normal process, and as we mentioned in the last meeting, the public chat is not particularly, especially with regard to the way the Bagley-Keene Act usually operates, the public chat function is not something that's normally available. It's sort of outside of the realm of public comment, where you all, members of the task force, have allotted 2 hours of each meeting, 1 hour each morning, to public comment, and so we did not have the public chat function on. But as I briefed you all in the last meeting, if the task force would like to activate the public chat function, it's well within the task force's ability to direct us to enable that in the Blue Jeans events platform. And obviously, in the last meeting, there was a lot of discussion as to people's feelings regarding what was in the chat. And the only thing I'll mention, the one last thing I'll mention, is we do not have an ability to moderate the chat. So the chat is either on or it's off. It would not be moderated, and it would become part of the official record of the task force that would be published with the meeting materials for each meeting in advance of the next meeting. So that would be included in the chat, in the public chat, would be part of the public record.
And I can't remember, is the public chat visible during the meeting to task force members?
Yes, it would be. And anybody logged into the Blue Jeans platform.
Thank you for that review, Attorney Newman. So now that we reviewed the situation, we can have a discussion on whether or not we think that the public chat function should be reinstated or not. And then we can have a potential action item around this. So does any task force member in particular want to speak or have a comment on the proposition of whether the public chat function should stay disabled or whether we should reinstate it? And if it is reinstated, are there any comments about best practices or things like that?
So this notion of best practices is, I don't know what best practice there is when you can't moderate the chat. And so that really presents a challenge to me, because if I am to be frank, I did look at those public comments in the chat in that early meeting, and some of them were very good, very substantive, good to see, good to hear about, and some of them were quite frankly just mean, nasty, cruel, and not helpful, and harmful, to people who they were, folks were talking about potentially, right? So it's without having the ability to do the best practice that is out there where you can moderate the chat, I feel like we have a real challenge here, because there is a benefit to hearing, but there's a real problem with not being able to manage it in ways that don't allow people to be disrespected, and that couldn't, frankly, just, we could be invaded by people whose only intent they're not interested in reparations per se, they're interested in denigrating the process. And so how do we protect against that? I don't know, without being able to manage the chat function. So I'm not saying yes or no, I'm just presenting conundrums as I see them.
So I'm not So in my committee meetings, public safety, as you can imagine, I've been called everything but the child of God. In person and in a chat and in emails and text messages. But during my meeting, especially now that we're in this COVID procedure, I don't see those. They do come in, but I don't see them. So I don't know why it's mandatory that while we're in our meeting, we have to, we, the committee members, have to see it in real time. When in other committees, you don't. In the Assembly and the Senate, you can look at it afterwards. When you have real in person, there's rules of decorum. So obviously, if someone is using language that is not PG, and again, if someone is making personal attacks on anyone, we have sergeants that are in the room that will remove that individual. And there have been times I've even had to gavel down, which means stop the meeting because people are so violent and expressive that I've had to go into recess, have those individuals, that person removed, and then we've come back when civility has reigned in the room. So I'm probably one of the few that's probably used to having people say some disparaging things about them in public in real time. And so I know it's very hurtful, and it's not appropriate, and it is distracting. So is the issue that as we're debating or discussing, we'll look over and glance and read something and that'll just throw us off, or we'll immediately start trying to answer something that's there when we really should ignore it. From my perspective, what has helped me, people who are very, who don't comport themselves in a logical way, they lose their point of view. So if they're cursing and screaming and not acting in the correct way, they lose their point. And it becomes easier for my committee, public safety, to make decisions about which way to go, because those individuals were so, I'll be honest with you, racist and radical, that we knew we weren't going to go in that position. Look, I always mention my uncle in Little Rock Nine and what he went through. But I know those people were at least honest and told them to their face what they really thought and used language which was offensive. But he knew how everyone felt. Nowadays, you don't hear it. I think especially recently, you don't hear that. So it is a little jarring that now, and I'm not going to get into politics, but now because of certain folk, people feel empowered to say things that they wouldn't have said 10 years ago, especially to African Americans. And so, yes, it could be a little jarring, but I can't speak for everyone on the committee. I rather out them, see them, know where they are, than push them down and have them hidden somewhere. So, but I'm just one as far as that concerned.
Another technical question about anonymity and what you just said, Member Jones Sawyer, made me think about that. Civility and anonymity, and how civility often goes out of the window in this day of social media when there's anonymity. And so maybe that is one way to put a check on people. They have to be open about who they are before they say something. So I don't know whether you can make your comments anonymously or whether your name goes.
We can look into this question. Sorry, may I, Chair Moore?
Yeah, sorry.
I think that the way the Blue Jeans platform works is that their comment would be linked to the name that they log in as an attendee for, and they are able to use whatever they log in as their name. So I'm looking at the attendee list right now, and a lot of these are not probably given names, I have to presume. So that would be the name that the comment would be tied to, which would be some level of anonymity if they choose to have those different kinds of names.
I just wanted to put into context that, this conversation is kind of moot after February, right? Because we meet in February. So, there won't be any public chat function once we start to meet in person in February. So I guess this would apply to tomorrow's hearing and the January hearing, whatever we decide. Just putting that out there. Member Tamaki, you're recognized.
So the thing about the chat is I can't read chat and then concentrate on what the speaker is saying. So I want to give every speaker and every person that speaks in the public comment section and every invited expert and lay witness who testifies my undivided attention. And for that, I mean, it's hugely distracting. What Representative Joan Sawyer says is absolutely right. I mean, when you're reading chat or you're answering something, you're not listening to the person speaking. And in the ideal world, everybody who logs in, whether from the public or participating in the task force, should be listening to the speaker. And we do have allotted time for public comment. I read every single email that is sent to the task force. I read every single converted phone message. So I am paying attention, but I can't read chat, especially when I should be listening to the speaker. But that I guess that's one comment. And then as we move into the public session, the face-to-face session, on the one hand, the chat function allows people to express obviously their thoughts. On the other hand, if you were in a public meeting, you might be able to talk to the person sitting next to you, but you couldn't address the whole audience. And electronically, chat does that, and it becomes a huge distraction, I think. But those are just my comments. Obviously, I'll go along with whatever the task force decides, but I think if you can't moderate it, we do have this phenomenon in social media of people being keyboard gangsters because of the anonymity and being trolled by people who have no intention of supporting reparations or want to hear what we have to say. So it opens up some problems. That's all.
Can I make a suggestion as maybe a compromise that we don't open up the chat, but we explain as we open up each meeting why we don't open up the chat, so that people who do want to have this chat, they will know, oh, you're not pushing me out, or you're not trying to push me down and make sure you don't hear from me. There is a very good reason why we're not doing it, and maybe DOJ can help us, right? Because we do short comments about COVID. Why we have rooms where you can only so many people can meet in a room. There's an adjunct room away from the Capitol. You can call in, and we have a procedure for how we take in information. Maybe we should have something that the chair can briefly read about why we're not openly doing this and incorporating that this body wants to make sure they have full attention to the speakers, to each other, and making sure that we're totally focused on ensuring that we get the right information that we need so we can make an informed decision, and that there's some distractions which comes with an open chat that may not be either germane to the subject or even helpful in our deliberations. And I know that's probably too long of a disclaimer, but you get what I'm saying. Some kind of disclaimer so that people will know why we did it. That we're not trying to hide. In fact, we're trying to be as professional and inclusive as possible, and respectful for each other and the people who come to speak before us. So you want to put that in a motion, or what? Everybody's kind of looking. Is that what you were looking for, or is it just we just do it, or we got to do it formally? Madam Chair.
Well, again, this would literally
Chair.
this would just apply to tomorrow's hearing and the hearing in January.
Anyway,
I
correct.
think before we make any motion, I just want to make my thoughts clear about where I stand on this issue. And so, as chair of the Reparations Task Force, I can say I do not condone any, harmful language, whether that's racism, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, classism, none of that type of language it should be tolerated. So I just want to make that statement clear. In conversations with Secretary Shirley Weber, early on in this process, she made it, clear to me that, a public chat function would be beneficial, despite, the negative commentary that might come with it, because I think member Reggie Jones Sawyer said earlier, you kind of want to see, who's against you, who's for you. You want to see it all, because if you, just disable the function, you're kind of, they don't go away. The negative commentary doesn't go away. You just don't see it. And that isn't necessarily beneficial to this process, I think. But at the same time, I'm balancing that rationale, that Weber proposed with the realities that, words hurt and words matter. And that, this needs to be, a process where people are respected. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm a bit conflicted. Now, I think the first meeting was kind of a one-off. There were a lot of different people there. I think a lot of people in the chat were bad faith actors that I don't think I've seen since that first meeting in the chat. So, I say that to say I'm not sure if, those types of comments would reemerge, given that we've, kind of gone along with our process, and, highly engaged community members have stayed committed to this process, and I think the bad faith actors have gone away. But that's just, that's my take on it. But I'm open to hearing any other comments from the task force, and we can just get to a motion.
Point of clarification, are you saying that we have to show everything that, because I think in other formats, you can exclude, you don't have to show it here on the screen. You can have your comments come in. I'm not talking about stopping comments from coming in. I'm talking about having it show up while we're deliberating and talking at the same time. So you're saying this Blue Jeans or whatever this thing is can't, then we should stay with Zoom. I mean,
Ye-
if you pick
Well,
something that doesn't comport to what we want. So you're really talking about a technological problem, not necessarily, because I'm with the chair. I'm not trying to stop anybody from commenting. I want people to comment. I just don't want them to distract us from our meetings. And you're saying we can't do that.
I have a follow-up question because for Blue
Well,
Jeans,
I don't know if you answered that. Is that what it means? That we have the technology won't allow us to do that?
Yes, sorry, I didn't want to
yeah, I think
interrupt.
that's
Oh,
go ahead,
am I,
Attorney
am I
Newman.
the-
Wow. Okie dokie.
sorry, did you want me to respond to that? Am I?
Yeah.
Yes.
Am I
Yes.
on mute? Okay, you can hear me. Good. Sorry, I didn't know if I was. So yes, Member Jones Sawyer, that's correct. Under the Blue Jeans technology does not allow, as far as we know, we can look into it before the next meeting. We can consult with them. But yes, that is correct. The platform itself, once the chat is turned on, it is on and visible to everybody. Now, you can, I mean, there's a menu on the right-hand side that has chat, which I think can be open and closed. And you can change the configuration on your screen while you're in the meeting. So that is controllable. I think the issue is if chat is coming through, you will see that sort of the numbers start popping up on the side of the screen, so you'll know chat comments are being made. Some members may be viewing the chat. Some members may not necessarily be viewing them all, but they'll be coming throughout the meeting. But you do have the ability to change your view using the menus on the bottom left-hand side and on the right side of the web view for Blue Jeans events. But that being said,
no. Let me try this again because I haven't seen any chats. So if no member on this committee opens up that chat, they don't see anything. But if they open it up, they'll see everything. Is that where we're at?
yes, that's correct. That's exactly right. It's the same as
John
Zoom.
Tomasi wants to concentrate exclusively on this meeting. He just shouldn't open up that chat.
Yeah.
Is it that simple?
Yes, it should be that simple. The chats will still be coming through. The comments will still be coming through.
I see it now. What is it? 4?
There's no way to block out members from seeing the chat in meeting. It wouldn't be something
If
we
they
do
want to. If they
Correct.
want to. I thought it was because I haven't seen the chat at all, and I realize now because I never opened up because it's distracting. So is that the solution? We let the chats come through and you just leave it alone and just concentrate on the meeting? Or am I out of line again?
Well, I had a quick follow-up question. So the Blue Jeans has a distinction between backstage chat and moderator chat. So I guess my question is, if the chat function is open back up, the comments from the public, will they be seen in both the backstage chat and the moderator chat, or just the moderator chat?
No, so what you're referring to are the chats that we're utilizing to sort of give stage directions, like if time is running out, or if people should be moving on to the next thing, or if a slide should be up or not. That's what the backstage chat is. And then the moderator chat is for people logged in as moderators. So this would be a third form of chat that would be open to all of the people, all the public, as well as all the members of the task force who are logged in as moderators. So it's 3 different kinds of chat that would each be separate. So the public can't see the backstage chat, which is the internal stage direction.
And the public can't see the moderator chat either unless they're promoted to being.
Yeah, that's correct. I don't even know. I mean, we don't have anything in the moderator chat, but I don't know if while they're promoted to give public comment, they would be able to see it or not. I'm not sure.
Okay. I guess another point of why. Oh, go ahead, Member Holder. You're recognized.
Just in the interest of time, maybe we can just do a poll, a quick poll, to see where people are, and then move to making a motion. No. And it seems like if the default is that there is no chat, then if the motion is that there is no chat, then that seems unnecessary. There should only be a motion if we want to enable the chat. Just as a point of order, right?
Yeah, I guess one last comment from me. I think one of the other reasons why I think people wanted the chat to be enabled, the people who are engaging in this process in good faith, is that, they might want to ask questions to the panelists, so that could help, particularly if there's like a lull. We can get a question from the public directly, and we can pose that question to our panelists. So that's just another a pro for enabling it, but also recognizing the many cons as well.
So we're going to go we're going to ask each one how we feel and then decide whether or not to take a vote. It's after 5. Oh my God, it's 5:30. And we kind of promised the public we'd be finished by 5.
We can take a poll and then, we can take a poll. Member Tamaki?
I'm very conflicted, but I don't want this to be a sticking point for the task force. I mean, Reggie Jones Sawyer, you're right. We don't have to activate the chat and just ignore it. And maybe that's the solution. I'm not in a big fan of the chat, but I'm not vehemently opposed to, keeping it on. So that's not really a great answer, but, it's just to say that if anybody else has strong feelings about it, I'd like to hear it. But I'm really in the middle of this. For me, it doesn't help me. Because I think it's a huge distraction. And if it's a distraction to me, I would think it's a distraction to everybody, including the audience. But, maybe I'm wrong on that. So.
Sorry, there's 6 of us left, so, and I'm conscious of time, and I also don't want to lose a quorum. So.
Yeah.
Someone just want to make a motion, either way.
Chair Moore, just to follow up with Member Holder's suggestion, could you just ask folks, those who would be okay with opening the chat, raise your hand, and we can get a sense, okay, of whether or not we need to make a motion.
Okay, so those who are okay, well, Dr. Brown is also busy, so who would be okay with opening the chat? Dr. Brown, are you here with us? So we're taking a quick poll on whether we would be okay with opening the chat, and I think all of us raised our hands a bit with some caution. So Vice Chair Brown, do you have any like strong opinions as to, would you be okay with opening the chat? I think that's the question on the floor. Would you be okay with reopening the chat for tomorrow and the January hearing? And
I've always been for openness and transparency. Always.
okay. So now that we've taken a poll, should we take a motion at this time? If so, yes,
I'd like to
Member
move-
Grills.
I'd like to move that we reopen the chat for the remainder of the December meeting and the January meeting.
I second the motion.
Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded that the public chat function is restored for the remainder of December's hearing and January's hearing. Is there any discussion? I guess I would just briefly reiterate that, if this motion passes, that we communicate, collectively as a task force that, again, we don't condone any harmful language, and that, we would communicate to the members of the public that in, reopening this chat, we are, restoring trust back into the public and hope that a reciprocal relationship, is respected, that they see that this wasn't an easy decision if the motion passes, and that the members of the public act accordingly.
And Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I can bring up the motion, and
Madam
if
Chair,
we just cut them off.
call the roll.
They do.
Yeah.
If they cut off, if they do go the wrong
Call
way.
for the question. Otherwise, you're going to lose your quorum.
Okay. Are you ready?
Hey,
Madam Chair?
Yes, Parliamentarian Johnson.
Okay. Chair Moore?
Aye.
Chair Moore votes aye. Vice Chair Brown?
Aye.
Vice Chair Brown votes aye. Member Grills?
Aye.
Member Grills votes aye. Member Bradford? Member Holder?
Aye.
Member Holder votes aye. Member Jones Sawyer?
Aye.
Member Jones Sawyer votes aye. Member Scott Lewis? Oh, okay. Member Tamaki?
Aye.
Member Tamaki votes aye. Member Montgomery Stepp? Okay. Madam Chair, there were 6 votes cast, 6 ayes, no nays, and no abstentions.
Thank you, Parliamentarian Johnson. So there were 6 ayes, so the ayes have it and the motion carries. So the public chat function will be restored for the remainder of December's hearing and the January hearing. Okay, thank you. So that was the last item of our today's agenda. So again, thank you to members of the public and the task force. We will recess until tomorrow at 9 a.m. Thank you again, and have a great evening, and see you tomorrow.
Good night. Safe travel.
Good night.
Good night.